cost to the vaccine system, about vaccines.
Well, I've talked to old pediatricians that saw kids 50 years ago. They say babies are different today. Something's wrong with them. I mean, they got dull eyes, they're getting brain damage.
But it starts before babies.
Stay right there. We're coming back.
This is an emergency alert.
Dr. Sherri Tenpenny is our guest in studio. A lot of ground to cover in a short time. Ukraine, you said at the start of the interview, and we got cut off by the break, that you're really concerned about what's happening over there, that they may be getting ready to release something else. They may have released something, that this huge buildup in and around a medical emergency is really perfect for the establishment, especially with the economic collapse, this global realignment, what's happening with the dollar. Please continue.
I'm just concerned that there's another virus that's come into play. Because when you look at those numbers, if you can believe them at all, and there was a couple of really good sites that I looked at that looked at the numbers and how exponentially that there was more and more people getting sick in a very short period of time. I mean, was it something in the air? Was it something that was released? Was it one of these mutant viruses that we talked about in terms of Tamiflu? That now maybe the H1N1 and the H5N1 and maybe one of these mutant viruses has started to reassort, and that there is really something a lot more virulent that's going on.
Because with their supercomputers, they know how it's going to mutate in enough of a population. They admit that the nasal was live and could mutate and be spread. Why did they put out the first H1N1 vaccine nasal?
Well, I think that was more for convenience. I think that was kind of an easy thing to do, but it really does spread around in the population.
What do we know about this virus in Ukraine? I mean, is it a flu virus? What is it?
Nobody seems to know.
They just say, oh, it's killing people.
Exactly. And the World Health Organization sent a bunch of people down there that they ostensibly said, oh, it's just the H1N1 virus. It's just the novel one we've been talking about, nothing to be concerned about. But that is not the way that virus has behaved over the course of the last 8 months. You know, when we see the reports coming out of the Southern Hemisphere, we didn't have the exponentially number of people getting sick in a very short period of time. So I think that there's something else that's happening there, that I think there's still some missing pieces, but I'm sure it's a story that'll evolve.
Well, that's what happened in January, is we had emergency managers in Indiana, New York. I got internal secret documents that were later confirmed in New York, where they were telling cemeteries, get ready for millions dead. That was in January, March, January, February, March. And I went on air and I said, they're coming with some type of big flu hype. I don't know if it's going to be real. It may just be hype, but they're really building up like we've never seen. And we never saw flu pandemics coming this quickly. Now they're coming in shorter and shorter increments, aren't they?
You know, Alex, I have a document on my computer that was from 2003 that was released. It was a small little report that came out from the CIA that actually said that they were very concerned that there was going to be the development of a virus down the road that could be activated by a second virus, and that there would be no way. There was in a bioterrorism website, and they had no way of knowing, and there would be no way to be able to control that if there was a virus that had been released, and then a second virus would activate it, and it may be even activated by taking aspirin. I'll get you that report because it was just a small little report. I stumbled across it on my computer the other day.
Why does aspirin activate so many things?
I don't really know. I think it really has to do with the way that it interferes with the cytokine reactions. But it really has, it causes all sorts of reactions into the bloodstream. But you know this, that if aspirin was developed today, it would not be an over-the-counter drug. I mean, it would be a prescription because of how many different effects it has on the body.
Some good, some bad.
Some good, some bad. Mostly bad.
Well, that's incredible because they admit Tamiflu has all these bad reactions and is highly restricted in Japan. Mm-hmm. They're just giving it to everybody like it's candy. And just like antibiotics make bacteria mutate quicker, I guess in a layman's terms, that's what these antivirals do.
Absolutely. And the World Health Organization talks about this. I mean, every month they come out with reports that there is now an H1N1 a virus that has been identified in a particular country like South Vietnam or Thailand or China or places that it's resistant. They know that last year the H1N1 strain in the seasonal flu virus was 100% resistant to Tamiflu. Well, that had to have happened because it was used a lot. We used a lot of Tamiflu previous to that. So it's going to happen. I mean, it has to happen that these viruses are going to mutate and morph around. You can't be fooling with Mother Nature like we do and not expect to have a bad outcome.
Okay, I've been asking a lot of the questions. When we come back before we take calls, whatever you think is most important, I'd like you to speak about it. And then also, again, the victory of the fact that people are waking up to this push for forced inoculation, this huge brainwashing campaign. So that's positive. But also on the negative side, the fact that the government would try to push this globally and the UN is in control of the situation, that's scary.
It's very scary. It's very frightening. And people really, it's so good, Alex, that we're able to talk about things like this. It's so good that people are taking an active role in investigating for themselves and just saying no. I think all the people now that are willing to take flu shots, they're in the minority. We've got more people saying, no, I don't want this. There are other things I can do to keep myself healthy. I can do vitamin D, vitamin C, there's herbals, there's oregano oil, there's all sorts of things that are out there. Even simple things, getting plenty of sleep, drinking good water, getting plenty of organic food as much as you can. There's all sorts of
sunshine
things you can do. Sunshine, absolutely. Except if you are north of the 37th parallel in the wintertime, they've actually shown that even if you are outside in the sunshine in the wintertime, north of the 37th parallel, which is like if you take a line from San Francisco and sort of draw it straight across the country, the sun isn't strong enough to give you enough vitamin D that you need to keep yourself healthy in the winter.
We got a break. We'll come right back.
We're on the
We're launching something new. Several times during the radio show every day, we're going to come back into segments playing 1-minute comments from listeners. Questions, comments, you agree, you disagree. Just make it short and sweet and focused, and we're going to air the good ones. The comment line is 512-646-4444, 512-646-4444, and you'll start hearing these tomorrow on air, 512-646-4444. A lot of other shows do this. I've done this many years ago. We're going to bring this back to the show. Continuing here, I want to tell you about a few sponsors that have made today's broadcast possible. Then we're going to hit a few final key points with Dr. Sherri Tenpenny, tell you about some of the books and materials she has available. Rob Dew's idea for her to put out a line of T-shirts to educate folks. They've done it. They're very handsome. She brought me some. We'll show you those. Want to support the work she's doing so she can do this full time. As she says, there's money-making work, being a doctor, and then her own money flying all over the country trying to educate people. She's a wonderful lady, so we want to financially support her. And our sponsors that financially support us. One of them is Diginet.net. Great sponsors for making today's show possible. Before we go any further, Sherri, with my last few questions before we take some calls, tell folks again about your multiple websites that have all this great information on them, and the book that we carry, incidentally. You can also get it at her sites, Foul, Revised and Updated, dealing with what's happening now, breaking down, exposing the hidden agenda, the agribusiness drug company connection, the role of the environment in making the birds sick, and what was really behind the 1918 pandemic. Dr. Sherri Tenpenny, Foul, a bestseller. Doctor?
Well, thank you, Alex, for talking about that, because that book was written in 2006. And one of the main things, even though the title of the book talks about bird flu, it really is a playbook of exactly what's going on now. So if you want to know about the specifics about Tamiflu, how that vaccines are made, the cell line technologies, the eggs, all of those different things, it's all in that book. And all of the backdrop in terms of the politics, there's a whole chapter on mandatory vaccination. And so it's very timely information, even though it was published at the time that the bird flu was coming out. It's really, really timely. Then the other book is Saying No to Vaccines, and it's a resource guide for all ages. It's refuting the 25 most common reasons people think you should vaccinate. So you can just scan down the table of contents. You can look at a particular question, and you can go to that page and just read it. And then there's a footnoted reference right there that you can print out and hand to anybody that you want.
And there's nobody out there as focused and professional as Dr. Sherri Tenpenny when it comes to exposing these frauds, these scams, these New World Order operations. It's just wonderful. We were talking during the break with emails pouring in about people's husbands, their wives, dying, having heart attacks right after the shot. And Reuters a month ago, who, by the way, are involved in some of the companies, some of the owners of Reuters are involved in some of the vaccine makers, they put out a headline saying, millions will die of heart attacks and autoimmune disorders and being paralyzed. That happens normally. Just because you think the shot did it, we are mass diagnosing all of you. None of this happened from the vaccines, even though their own inserts admit it. I remember, and you wrote about this, but the mainstream media had to later admit it when Tommy Thompson, head of Health and Human Services, he wouldn't even take it. When all these people taking it were having heart attacks, and now we're seeing similar reports with this happening with the flu shot. Why is this happening?
Well, the live flu vaccines, particularly the swine flu vaccine, when we talked about doing that after 9/11, and they've done it to the military, they were going to do it to first responders, all the healthcare workers. Well, the swine flu shot, the smallpox vaccine was injecting a live virus. that live virus was actually shown to cause hypercoagulability, which means it makes your blood clot. And people were dying from blood clots to the lungs, blood clots to the heart, and heart attacks. Well, this flu mist vaccine, and the one that goes up the nose, is a live. It's a live flu. It's a live virus. It's a weakened virus, but it's a live virus. Injecting all of these flu shots into the body can do that. And I really think that there's a lot of information that's going to be coming out. It's the new ploy that the vaccine industry is doing. I mean, first they used to say you had to vaccinate so you wouldn't get sick. And then they said, well, you've got to get vaccinated so you can protect everybody around you. And then they said, no, you got to get vaccinated so that it will save money. So if you get vaccinated and you don't get sick, we won't have to put you in the hospital. And now they're saying, well, we know all these vaccine reactions are going to happen, so we're going to look at populations and find out what the baseline incidences of having things like Guillain-Barré and heart attacks. And so when we start having flu vaccines that happen and people are getting sick from them, well, we've already got the statistics to say that it can't be the flu shot, it has to be something else. So it's anything in the world to vaccinate everybody with everything.